Casey's Corner, introducing you to small businesses in the East Valley. Brought to you by Prosperity North Advisors, a Kendall insurance agency, protecting your prosperity. Hello, everyone. Casey Kendall, Prosperity North Advisors, a Kendall insurance agency, protecting your prosperity. Joining me today, Tyler Oldroyd from Home in One. Tyler, thanks for being here. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Well, I'm really excited that you're here because I'm really excited about what you and your wife Amber have launched. Now, I don't want to step on your toes, but you have launching a app for home services, a home in one. So, Tyler, tell us a little bit about yourself, about how you got started in this, what your background is, and what you're doing with the app.
Okay. So as you mentioned, it was kind of a joint venture here with myself and my wife. My wife is she has a real estate background. She's currently in the real estate industry. As a real estate agent, they were and still are consistently looking for reliable service providers. We kind of went through and looked at what was available currently as far as technology and what was available in the aspect of finding those quality service providers. There really wasn't a product on the market that was both good for the consumer and good for the small business. Lots of products out there. The majority of them are, either overpriced on the consumer side, or they are essentially just tough business models for, relatively small local business to be a viable business model for them. So we kind of took a look at the problems we were trying to solve, and we developed a software that does all of those things essentially. We provide a reasonably priced service to the consumer. We provide all the tooling necessary to run a small business and do it efficiently with a customer acquisition cost of essentially zero. With a Uber style revenue model,
Right.
that is really beneficial for both parts. And then we vet all the vendors. We take care of all of that on the back end, making sure that they're licensed properly, that they're insured properly, make sure that the client themselves are taken care of. And then, on the back end of the service, we also have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, where we guarantee the service. If you're not happy with it, we'll redo it. And if you are not happy with your service provider at any point in time, you can request a provider change, and we'll reassign the account.
That's a rare trait, being able to provide a 100% guarantee. I love that. But what I love even more is that you and your wife saw a hole in the market, and an opportunity to bring small businesses together with the consumer. We're in an area right now where, this might be the largest growth area in the country, the Maricopa County at least, and Queen Creek and the East Valley. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. So based off of your background, tell us the process in which you've gone through to essentially launch the app, some of the details around that, and how it's going to help not only the vendor side but the consumer side.
So from a background perspective, I've been an entrepreneur the majority of my life. I've been involved in multiple businesses. I've been in the trucking industry. I've been in the automotive industry. Never been in the home service industry, and never really been in the tech industry. But I guess once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, and kind of went through and we figured it out. We did our due diligence, and we teamed up with some pretty good developers that actually work on our project full time, essentially 6 hours a day developing software.
Wow.
Our initial launch was Arizona East Valley, again, as you mentioned, super good for growth. It's been a really good beta test, kind of testing functionality, getting feedback from customers, getting feedback from vendors, changing the system so that we could do what we set out to do, which is make it a system that was beneficial and functional for both parties. So far so good. We've been successful at doing both of those things. As you said, we're hopefully a few days out from app launch. It is in test flight mode with Apple. It is ready to launch on Android. So a few more days there, but the web version and the beta test has been successful.
So this is, I mean, this is real. This is like in the App Store. Someone can go in, look at it, create an account, and have a vendor there for their home with whatever they might need. So can you give us an example of what a consumer would find on the app?
Yep. So right now we offer 6 services. We're working on adding some additional services. We do house cleaning, we do pest control, we do pool service, we do landscape maintenance, we do large tree trimming, and we do window washing. All of those are pretty essential services that the majority of homeowners in Arizona, certainly the East Valley,
Sure.
Utilize and or require. So we kind of started there because those are really staple services that the majority of people utilize. We are in the process of adding some handyman services, some air filter cleaning services, some things that are a little bit more niche, certainly more on the convenience side, rather than something you would order or purchase on a recurring basis. And again, I haul off and junk removal. There's a number of services
Wow.
we'll be adding to kind of grow that system and add some additional convenience to the client. And those aren't far off either. So as soon as the app is launched, we'll worry about getting those additional services added to the web-based version as well as the app.
So then that would mean essentially somebody could order pool service. They could order a landscaper or someone to trim a tree after a storm or something like that, essentially same day, and have them show up within a specific set time period.
So on the web-based version, it's a 48-hour time frame.
Okay.
Just because of the way that we're able to facilitate the actual service without push notifications and those kind of things that come with on-device. Once we are on device with the mobile app version, you will be able to request same-day service. Our vendors will be able to actually log in if they're doing a service in a specific area, make themselves available to a radius, whatever works for them. So I can say, hey, I'm in the area, I'm doing pool cleans all day. Anything that pops up that needs to be done today within a 5-mile radius, I'll make myself available. And just like an Uber driver, if you said, hey, I need my pool cleaned today, I need an acid wash, I need something, you could put your service out there. It would ping everybody that was available on the system within your radius. Somebody would accept that job. And because we do have geo tracking and some of those things, you would actually see that service provider accept your project and watch him travel to your home.
Wow.
Monitor that entire process. If you weren't home, you can see how long he spent at your house. And then once the service is complete, obviously you would lose that geo tracking, but you can see the process start to finish.
Wow. So that sounds pretty in depth and super flexible when it comes to the consumer side. But talk to us about the vendor side. I work as an insurance guy. I work a lot with small businesses that might be a landscaper or I've got a couple pool guys, and I know what it takes for them to hustle on a daily basis to make their numbers, essentially. So let's talk about the vendor side, because it really sounds like someone could essentially set up a route based off of services with you.
So when we created the vendor side, and there's two completely totally separate. They are obviously merged together internally, but two totally separate portals. One for the customer, one for the vendor. When we built the vendor portal, we had a few things in mind. First and foremost, we know that small business doesn't have generally a lot of money for marketing budgets and those kind of things. So we kind of saw them going the traditional route of Facebook recommendations, that kind of thing.
Right, really chasing the like social media, like, hey, does anybody know a good blah blah blah?
Which we kind of monitored that a little bit and kind of saw the race to the bottom of, if your top guy was $100, your next guy was $95, the guy after that was $90. So
Becomes that reverse eBay or
sure, yeah,
like you said, the race to the bottom. I like that.
Bidding on the service in reverse, and really what we saw happen was somebody would be on there looking for those recommendations. The majority of the time, they would take the guy who was willing to race the furthest to the bottom. They would hire them for the service, and we would see that same individual, back on Facebook looking for recommendations for the identical service a couple of weeks later. Because that vendor didn't show up, they closed their doors. It's just not a viable model. We also kind of saw vendors going the route of Angie's List and Thumbtack, where a lot of times they were paying absorbent amounts of money for lead generation, that they were selling the same leads to multiple businesses at 90, $100 with a close rate of maybe 15% at best. And again, if I'm a small business, I've got 2, 3, 4-man crew spending $90 with a 15% close rate. That's not viable for me. That is using up 100% of my profit. And then there's still no efficiency in the route. So when we set up the software and how jobs, never ever do we send a lead to anybody. They get actual jobs that a customer has actually ordered.
That's booked.
It is booked 100%. And if they accept it, which they have the ability in the system to accept or reject a job, they see all of the details in advance. They say, hey, okay, here's where this job is at. Here's what it pays. Here's what it is. They click accept. Whatever date and time that job was booked for, they're now obligated to provide that service to that customer. If it's a reoccurring service, if it's a pool clean that's weekly or a house clean that's biweekly, that same service provider will be your service provider until you request another one or until you discontinue service. But that service provider always remains the same. You don't get somebody different every week. You don't get somebody different every 2 weeks. So again, once you kind of create that relationship with your local small business that we're utilizing and ultimately helping, that trust continues throughout your service. And then we also have a small business incubation program that we implemented because there's a severe lack of individuals,
Sure.
certainly that want to provide services and actually get out and work for a living. So we're helping young 20-somethings that want to get into business. They're good at their craft. They're not exactly sure how to go about becoming self-employed. Because we built the system with all of the tooling to manage schedule, manage finances, customer communication. We help them do that. We help them, through connections like you, get the proper insurance, set up the LLC, make sure that they have, EIN numbers, that they're reporting their income correctly.
Everything's legit.
Everything is legit.
Let's go back a little bit because you touched on a few things that I want to really understand, like ongoing service, right? So I've got a pool. I got a pool guy who comes every week. They could essentially be a vendor, a pool vendor for you, and then book that on a weekly basis or just a one-time. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. So we offer services in a multitude of frequencies. So depending on what the service is, you can get a weekly, a biweekly, a monthly, sometimes even a quarterly. When it comes to large tree trimming, generally that's something that happens once every 6 months even. Those big palm trees just don't grow that fast, but if you let them go a full year, generally they're a little out of control and stuff's hanging all over the place. So it kind of varies based on service, but 100% correct. And then the way that the system is set up, because we have the ability for an established vendor to say, hey, look, I've got some holes in my schedule.
Sure.
I'm really booked for, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I got about a half a day, Friday I could use a couple of jobs. You can really utilize the system however you want. Again, it costs you nothing to be part of the system, 100% free. If you never take a job, we'll never send you a bill at any point in time during the process. But if you just need to fill in your schedule, you sign up under the Partner With Us page, register as a vendor. You go through the process. It's generally about a 48-hour process to get approved as a vendor.
Sure.
But when you are, if you have availability on the dates that a client actually books a service, that service could possibly go to you, and you can fill those gaps in your schedule that you have currently, and do it efficiently because it's based on zip code. And if you're a brand new business starting out, just trying to build a clientele, same scenario. You have all day, every day available. So we'll help you build that route and build it efficiently, based on your zip codes that you want to service. So you're not driving all over the valley, which
Right, you're not going to end up in Tempe in the morning and Queen Creek at night unless you want to.
Unless you want to, and a lot of our vendors currently are even utilizing it to expand. So if you've got full routes and you just want to build another one, and a lot of times we'll say a pool service company is 2 or 3 techs. One of those techs is generally the guy that owns the company. He doesn't have time necessarily, without suffering on the revenue side to build that additional clientele. Again, if he wants to buy another truck, hire another tech, we'll help them build that route, and grow that business.
That's amazing.
Where it's an efficient route for another tech, and they're making money and off to the races and free to do it again as the business grows.
Are the when you're working with a vendor, are those prices pretty set as far as I don't know how else to put this except being able to say a leak under my sink might be one price, but what happens if the vendor walks in and the client has said, I got a leak under my sink, but they go in and it's really a repipe job for the entire house. How does something like that work?
So it's pretty simple. We don't do the leak under the sink, at least not currently. We are actually working on adding the handyman service. The handyman service outside of a few set jobs, because we do understand that happens, and a lot of times the consumer or the client is looking for a handyman because they don't know what it takes to complete that job.
Right.
Again, our pricing is for the most part it's sight unseen. We haven't seen the job. It is 100% accurate, and to ensure that it's 100% accurate, even after the fact, some of those jobs, like handyman service in general, if you're not sure what it's going to take, and it's not a preset service like hanging a ceiling fan or hanging a TV on the wall, it'll be done by the hour. You say, hey, I think this will take about 2 hours. Your handyman shows up, says, look, this is probably a 4-hour job. Then they request some additional time. It's approved by the customer. We add a couple more hours to that booking. Again, that's all automated. Once that's done and approved by the customer, which they get a notification that additional 2 hours for the handyman has been added to their service. Once the handyman completes whatever the project is that needed to be completed, he marks it as done, and everything else is again taken by the system from there.
With the management on the vendor side, what does that look like for them? I believe you had mentioned like a CRM type of system that can help them with like client retention, contact management, those types of things?
Yeah, so the CRM, because they're not doing any of their own, we'll say, customer relations, we're handling all of the customer service for them. Another benefit to kind of going this route. We give them the tooling to manage their schedule, set their availability. In the app version, they sign up techs underneath one admin account. So if you're a pest control company and you say, look, I have 5 techs, you as the owner of the pest control company says, okay, I'm the administrator, I'm going to set up my 5 techs. They have all of their own login information. So that they can manage their techs, they can see their geolocation throughout the day, so you can make sure that your guy's doing what he's supposed to be doing when he's supposed to be doing it. The routing is done for you. We actually use AWS for everything, so it's all
Nice.
all Amazon routing, which gives you at the beginning of every day, based on what's in your schedule, the most efficient route that you can possibly take to complete that route for each tech. And again, you can monitor that throughout the day as the administrator of the pest control company and make it as profitable as possible.
I think it's an amazing idea, not only from the consumer side, being either a homeowner or renter needing those services, and instead of throwing it out on Facebook where you might say like, oh, does anybody have a good blah blah blah, being able to narrow it in, read reviews, understand what the pricing is going to be before anyone shows up, and then really getting that service complete as quickly and efficiently as possible. I'd like to jump into the website, if you don't mind, and really talk about what's going on here. Now, obviously, the app is really going to drive everything forward, and the availability and, like you said, contact services and those types of things. But when it comes to the website, I see a few things here. What is a reward point?
So a reward point is exactly what it says it is. As far as the $50 reward for signing up, and again, there is no purchase necessary in order to receive that. Really, what we want to do is have you as the homeowner, kind of experience Home-in-One and how easy it is to use. What the service looks like, and obviously we're going to incentivize that process for you a little bit. Hopefully help us again. We're developing this thing 6 days a week with developers in house, and we want as much feedback as possible. Again, we're still in what I would call a beta program. The majority of the testing has been done. It's super functional, as I mentioned. It's super successful. But again, we realize that we can always improve, and the biggest thing we want our homeowners to do is experience it, and we believe that once they experience it, that they'll be hooked. So
that's as a man, I'm going to stop you right now because I'm kind of enthralled with the website a little bit. I see a weekly service. I've got a large pool. Now I haven't added any of the specifics as far as chemicals and service dates and those types of things. But if I scroll all the way down, it's giving me that price. Now that obviously is it not a valid price. I just want to say that right now. But the flexibility in being able to control this and having house cleaning, landscape maintenance, pool service, pest control, which I mean, you always need a good pest control person, especially out in the middle of the desert.
And so it is actually 100% valid price. The way that the system works is you've selected weekly service.
Ah, okay.
So those bookings are created every single week. You are never charged. So once you go in and you sign up for a service and you put your credit card information so that again the payment is automated, it's contactless. You don't have to leave me a check. You don't have to get my Venmo account. You don't have to get any of those things. Once the service is done, it's marked complete by your vendor, and then the credit card on file or payment method on file is charged automatically. It's 100% automated. It creates the next booking for the next week, which gives the service provider the ability to add notes to each specific booking. So you as the homeowner know, hey, this is what I did to your pool. I may have had to put shock in it today. I'll make a note on that booking. Don't swim in it for 24 hours, let that shock dissipate. So any notes that need to be added to every single booking, every single week, if it's a weekly service, you as the homeowner can go in and say, hey, Casey, my dogs are put up, but I won't be home. Feel free to go through the gate and do the service as usual. On every single service, you can add that note. You can communicate with not only your service provider, but with us as admin. So that's the reason we do the bookings weekly like that, and then the charges obviously are exactly the same. So the $34.40, that would be a weekly service charge.
Sure.
If you want to skip a week, if you want to do any of those things, again, we're not billing you for the month. So if you get only 3 services one month, you pay for 3 services. You don't pay for 4 services. There's no contract ever on any service. So if at any point in time you decide you want to handle the service on your own, by all means do so. You're not locked into anything. You can cancel at any time. It's all in your portal. You don't have to call anybody. It's completely frictionless. Again, you can request service provider changes. That again is frictionless. You don't have to have a conversation with your guy that's uncomfortable. That
Sure.
Hey, here's the deal. I for whatever reason, I want to make a change. Again, you log into your portal and you do that, and you don't have to have a conversation with anybody. Everybody is notified, and your service will continue as it is.
Everybody's background checked, so I don't have a weirdo coming into my house or worry about my wife or kids or anything like that.
Yep, exactly. So we go through 100% background check on everyone. And then again, we verify licensing, we verify insurance, and that again, those insurance coverages are adequate for the protection of the homeowner. And I think that happens a lot too, especially when you get into the Facebook recommendation cycle and those kind of things. You don't really know what you're receiving. They may do a great job and may have done a great job previously, but that doesn't mean you as a consumer are protected in any way, shape, or form. And the bottom line is, and
I think it just goes to say that everybody isn't always going to get along. I mean, different strokes for different folks. And while it may have been great for that one particular person's situation, it may not be right for you in that moment, but allowing you to choose. As we saw the flexibility of the website, I can't even believe what the app's going to look like. I'm so excited to see that.
And being in the insurance business, I think, too, and I know we just went through this in my policy personally, unless you have umbrella policies and those kind of things. If you have a house cleaner that is at your house and they slip and fall, or any of those things where, ultimately, if there's no insurance there, you're liable. That's going to your homeowner's insurance.
Yeah, I think that's a different podcast for a different time for sure.
But we make sure in every scenario that at a minimum, they carry that liability insurance and that those coverages are adequate to protect you, so that at the end of the day, that's not the way that it goes.
That's awesome. Tyler, I am so happy that you stopped by, and this has been just a phenomenal conversation. I'm blown away with the website, a ground up build of the services within the app, and I can't wait for it to launch. What is the best way for either a vendor or a consumer to get a hold of you?
So the easiest way, obviously, is going to be log onto the website. There is multiple ways to contact us via the website. There's a contact us page. There is also active chat that is a general chat that you'll see on every single page that you go to. Once you create an account within your portal, again, you have admin chat. That admin chat you have accessible to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From a vendor perspective, in the footer of again, every single page, you'll see a Partner With Us link. Go to the Partner With Us page. It's super, super simple as far as starting the registration process. Everything that is required of vendors after the fact, we kind of go through that process once they've registered. Send them the agreements and again the insurance requirements, collect their copy of their insurance, listing us as additionally insured, so that we get copies of those binders and we make sure again that you're always covered. Verify licensing if licensing is required.
Sure.
And again, help them run their business more efficiently.
Okay. A homein1.com. Home in One in the App Store.
Correct.
Phone number 800-554-7756.
That's it.
Awesome. Tyler, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Man, again, I'm super impressed, and I can't wait for this to all go live. I think it's what the market needs, and I'm really happy for you guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. If you'd like to be featured on Casey's Corner, please like, subscribe, share this video and podcast. Thanks very much. Have a great day.